I'm ready. I'm recording.
All right. Welcome to Wingin' It, the West Wing
Welcome, guys
podcast.
and girls.
Yeah, welcome one and all.
Welcome, people.
We're here to talk about The West Wing, Season 2, Episode 14, The War at Home. How did you feel about this, Sally? Oh, I'm Andrea.
I like this.
This is Sally.
What?
I didn't introduce ourselves.
Oh, hey.
Hey.
I'm Sally. Is that good?
Yeah, that's totally fine. I'm Andrea. Hello. Now, how did you feel about it, Sally? How was the episode?
I felt great about it. I feel great about it. It's a really good episode. It's not as good as the few we've watched before. I don't know. I feel like the last ones have had such a high standard for me that they're good dramatically and comedically and just perfect all around. And this one was still so good. It's still a lot better than a lot of the other episodes because I think season 2 is just on a different level in general.
Whole nother level.
It's not as much my favorite as some of the past few we've watched.
I agree. And it's not, like you said, it's not because it wasn't good, because it was good.
It was still really good, yeah.
It was heavy. There wasn't enough levity. Like, if it were the ratio of levity to, heaviness, it's kind of like, when you eat apple pie a la mode, you got to have the right ratio of the ice cream to the pie. I feel like the ratio was just a little heavy in the drama, which was fine, but...
Yeah, no, I agree, because I think for me, and this is totally personal preference, for me, my favorite episodes are the ones that mix the drama and the comedy perfectly. The ones that, like, pull at your heartstrings, but are still light enough to enjoy. And those are the ones I like to rewatch the most. Obviously, there are still good qualities to rewatching the heavy ones, like Two Cathedrals and Shadow of Two Gunmen. Like, obviously, those are great episodes, too. But for me, the perfect episodes are the ones that mix it well together.
Yeah. Shaken, not stirred. Man. Oh, okay, so we should probably recap what happened in the TikTok. Yeah. You ready for this, guys? So if you haven't recently rewatched it, the main things that are happening, this is basically a continuation of the last episode, which was Bartlett's third State of the Union. And there is still this USDA hostage situation going on. So there are 5 agents who are held hostage in Colombia. So they're trying to navigate their release and getting them home in a rescue mission for that. Josh is still waiting for polling results from the State of the Union. Abby is still mad at President Bartlett because she thinks he's trying to run for re-election and they didn't talk about it and they had a deal. The Officer Sloan, I love that I just openly mock her. Officer Sloan is still kind of in the hot seat. It's not really a major thing that's happening. Oh, and then Ainsley Hayes wants to re-meet the president because the last time she did, she was like doing the bossa nova in her bathrobe and it didn't go well. So she's trying to negotiate making that happen. She needs a do-over. Those are the main things that are happening here in this episode. So there you go. Yeah. TikTok.
That was great. Thanks, Andrea.
I can do a TikTok if I've just watched the episode, but other than that, my brain just, I can't remember anymore. Getting old, Sal.
That's fair enough. And that's why we recap, too, because, like, even, like, while I'm watching the episodes, I'm like, what happens with this storyline again? Mm-hmm. There's so many West Wing fans I feel like know just the ins and outs of everyone. And it comes with rewatching over and over. And I feel like this type of rewatch, like, after podcasting, I'll probably remember everything because it's so in-depth.
And because we know so much more now about it because of everyone contributing.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's so much that happens in any individual episode that you're just like, oh man, that's a lot. So where to even begin? Where would you like to begin?
Gosh, I was going to ask you. Start at the very beginning. I've never seen The Sound of Music. Sorry. And I should have. I was a musical theater major. Can you tell?
Yeah, that really surprises me, actually.
It's pretty dumb that I've never seen the whole thing. I'm more of a Chicago sort of girl, but that's neither here nor there. I'll just pull the girl card and let's talk about Josh and Donna in this episode.
Okay.
Let's just start there and we'll go on to other things. I promise.
Maybe.
Maybe.
This is the Josh and Donna podcast.
Yes. No, really, there are other things that happen. However, this is kind of a pivotal episode in that, in their little storyline, because it's the first time that Josh is brought to the attention via Joey Lucas that Donna likes him. This is apparently complete news to him because he's a boy.
But is it though? Is it because he talks to Sam before he even talks to Joey Lucas? He talks to Sam and he's like, why does Donna want to set me up with Joey Lucas? And then he says, wouldn't she be jealous? And why would he think that? I don't think he's as oblivious as we're sometimes led to believe. I think he has a hint, but I think he's not really sure. Hence why he would never act on it, because he's just like, oh, I don't know.
I think he wants her to be jealous. I think that I think he wants her to be jealous. I think he's more aware of that, like his side of things, than he is aware of her feelings for him. Because he's bothered. He seems bothered by the fact that she's trying to push Josh and Joey together. Like, he keeps bringing it up.
He definitely seems bothered by that. He does. Mm-hmm. At one point, this is one of those points where, and we talked about this, maybe even in the pilot. I don't remember when we talked about it, but there are some points where, like, they make it so obvious, or they have these big Josh and Donna plot points, that then you're just baffled that nothing comes of it. And I don't remember the next few episodes. I don't remember if anything, there might be more that comes directly from this, but that it is such a slow burn after things like this happen. Yeah. And this is one of those for me, because there's one moment where Josh looks at Donna and he's like looking at her, and then he's like, why are you trying to set me up with Joey Lucas? And he says it in a way that's like, why would you do that? You like me. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the subtext of that is great. It's just like, and if she had taken it, but she's so not going there. She's so like, oh, you guys would be you'd be a handsome couple. You could, like, you wouldn't have to re-monogram your towels, which who still monograms their towels, people, honestly?
Oh, I have plenty of friends who monogram their towels.
Oh, okay. See, I don't know things. But it's not enough
me
reason
personally,
to date someone.
But
no offense, guys. Don't send us hate mail if you've got monogrammed towels. I would actually probably really like that. I feel like
now Andrea's backpedaling because
no, actually, I think I really would like that.
We're gonna get an iTunes review that it's a really great podcast, except they hate on people who try and monogram towels.
Oh well, can't win them all.
We love you all.
This is a great. That's kind of the moral of the whole episode, is that you can't win them all. This is the first time I think that we've heard Leo say, and we'll come back to Josh and Donna in a second, but this is the first time we've heard Leo say to President Bartlett, like, we lost this one. So this is an episode that has a lot of heart, and it doesn't always turn out. It seems like almost every episode, the White House finds a way to get themselves through whatever curveballs are thrown at them, and this one, they just don't. So that's what makes this one unique.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. I mean, we've had examples of them, like, not getting, the one where they're on the plane comes to mind, the Portland trip, where they don't actually go to Portland, where nothing, like the President Bartlett is resigned at the end of the episode because he's like, I can't get anything done. It sort of felt like this to me when he was at the end of this episode and he was going on his speech, which was great, which we'll get to in a second. That's how it felt to me. It was like, I'm the president of this country. I'm the leader of the free world. We're a superpower, blah, blah, blah. Like, what good is it?
Yeah.
I think he probably feels like that sometimes, and this is a good example of that.
Except that this one had fatalities involved, and the other one was, a policy initiative.
Oh, yeah.
So the gravity of this.
It's it's a totally different level, yeah.
The ending of the episode, I can't even, we'll get there, but
yeah, let's bounce around.
Should we start with all the happy things and then end with all the sad things? Is that like a good emotional seesaw?
Just to leave all the listeners in a funk.
Yeah,
we just want to leave you guys talking about everybody dying.
No, we do need to sandwich it.
Yes, definitely, but I feel like there's more Josh and Donna to talk about before we close the book on that.
No, for sure.
I I think it's interesting that, I mean, the Josh and Sam conversation is way more interesting to me than anything else, because it really, to me, is like, him even asking Sam about it is an acknowledgement that there's something...
Yes.
Something going on, something odd.
Yes, that he cares at all.
Right. And I think that's a big step for us in the Josh and Donna storyline.
Yeah.
And it's Sam doesn't give the best advice. Sam's like, no, it's not a big deal.
I know. Boys are so black and white. I don't think anything. Like, it was
I don't
so
think
simple.
Anything.
And I was like, do you understand that conversation they had in that, like, 10 seconds would have been, like, 5 coffees in my life with somebody? Where, like, they would see screenshots of text messages. We would all go through it. We would analyze it from 5 different angles. We would just sift through every nuance of subtext. It's so involved being a girl from what, in my experience.
The screenshots of text messages is like the most true thing.
Isn't it the most true thing? Oh, welcome to our lives, guys.
Yeah. Now all the men are let in on the secrets.
Oh, it happens.
So,
careful what you send.
The thing about the Josh and Donna thing is that I don't have any resolution. Like, I'm just like, okay, this is interesting. Okay, we're going somewhere, and then there's nothing that ties it up for me. And obviously that's just how it is. But there's no, even for me trying to explain it, like, even me being like, oh, this is bad. It's not bad, but like, oh, this is pretty blatant acknowledgement of it. There's no but to that sentence. Like, but then this happens, and it goes away.
What?
Like, you know what I'm saying?
What?
Right. Yeah. There's no, it felt very in the air to me, and, I don't know.
So close to real life.
I just love them.
It's true. We would like to see something happen sometime, eventually.
I love the part where he says he's not jealous, but he just tries everything he can to, like, stop her from dating everybody.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
also,
you're not jealous.
Donna, let's play this short little audio clip of Donna, again, trying to get Josh to go out with Joey Lucas.
Josh.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something about women?
Oh, God, please don't.
We like to be wooed.
Donna.
She wants you to ask her out, Josh.
She really doesn't.
You're missing the signs.
I'm really not.
I know a thing or two about the ways of love.
No, you don't.
You're missing the signs.
I'm thinking of firing you.
You fired me twice already tonight. I'm impervious.
Among other things, yeah.
Yeah, women like to be wooed, that whole thing. And then she said, that whole see ya, that was a sign or something. What? Really?
I didn't get, that was reading into it a little much for me.
Donna.
But the whole women like to be wooed thing is interesting to me because I think she is, like, the situation would be frustrating from a girl's point of view because, and I think I've said this about this situation before, but I'm very much the person that's like, if he's into you, he's going to ask you out and call you, period. And, like, if he can't man up and do that, then he's not into you or too bad. And I think that Donna is probably the same way. I think she's at a point now where she's like, well, me and Josh have known each other and been hanging out for 3 years and nothing has ever happened. So, like, clearly he's whatever. So when she says that about women like to be wooed, it's almost a little sad because it's like, it feels like, and I guess I've missed my chance. Like, you're not going to woo me now. Like, if we ended up together, it would be odd. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
To me, it felt like I feel like he could carry out some sort of, like, pursuing a woman, like, grand gesture because he's good at strategic planning. But I really feel like emotionally, he would need a woman to tell him to do those things. Like, I don't think he has the emotional IQ to do it.
But
really don't.
Maybe not the emotional IQ, but Josh is one of the most passionate characters on the show. Meaning that when he cares about something, he might not plan it out, he might not think about it, but I almost feel like if he really cared about something, he wouldn't be able to stop himself from doing certain things because he would just, like, go overboard. A scene later in the series comes to mind, but I won't spoil it.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I guess
there's a couple example. Actually for me.
No, I know
now, but
one of them was with anyway. Yeah. No, I still think that he's kind of an emotional infant and doesn't really know what to do.
Oh, I totally think he's an emotional infant. I don't think he knows that it's time to do that. I think he's nowhere near the realm of being like, yeah, me and Donna should be in a relationship. I think in that sense of it, yes, absolutely. But I think as far as wooing a girl, I think Josh could pull out some stops.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is the most we've ever talked about Josh.
This is the most we've talked about it. We should probably pivot on to other things.
Yeah, let's go.
Although, let's just play this now since we're wrapping up that little part. So this is the kind of pivotal line that Joey brings to Josh's attention, the whole thing.
Numbers don't lie. They lie all the time. They lie when 72% of Americans say they're tired of a sex scandal, while all the while, newspaper circulation goes through the roof for anyone featuring the story. If you polled 100 Donnas and asked them if they think we should go out, you'd get a high positive response. But the poll wouldn't tell you it's because she likes you, and she knows it's beginning to show, and she needs to cover herself with misdirection.
Believe me when I tell you that's not true.
You say that these numbers mean dial it down. I say they mean dial it up.
So there you go. There you have it. I'm also kind of wondering...
I think that's great.
I'm also wondering what Kenny the Interpreter is doing these days. Do you ever wonder that?
I haven't, but now I am.
Maybe we should look him up and ask him what his experience on the West Wing was like.
We should definitely do that. We can do it right now.
Okay, hold on. I'm just kidding. Okay, what else? Toby? Ainsley?
Yeah, we'll put Ainsley at the end so we have something to sandwich. But let's talk about Toby. Well, I didn't really care that much about this storyline, honestly. Did you? Was I missing something?
Because you hate Toby.
Just
I'm just kidding.
No, it's not because I didn't, with everything else going on, with the Josh and Donna stuff, with the stuff in Colombia, the hostages, it just didn't hold my attention.
Yeah, it's true. Compared to the other things going on, Toby, I did like Toby's little, I don't even know what it's called, little anecdote when he's at breakfast with the junior senator from North Dakota, Seth Gillette.
Yeah.
And it's Ed Begley Jr.
Yes.
Are you familiar with the actor, Sally?
He was on Seventh Heaven.
He was on Seventh Heaven. I looked up his IMDb page, and that man he's a working actor. He's been in everything. He's like giving Kevin Bacon a run for his money. Like he was on Laverne and Shirley, Quincy, Veronica Mars, Boston Legal, Portlandia. By the way, I'm coming to Portlandia soon. Yeah, I mean, so he is all over the place.
I just didn't pay attention to this storyline, really.
It's fine. There was a funny little, I just love anything with a pun, and I love Toby. So Toby said a pun kind of as like a parting statement to this guy at this heated breakfast, and I liked it, so we're going to play it. Here you go.
I was just thinking about this cartoon I once saw. A bunch of tiny fish are swimming through the leaves of a plant, but then one of the fish realizes it's not a plant, it's the tentacles of a predator, and the fish says, with friends like this, who needs anemones?
Oh, Toby, you're so delightful. This is the other question I had before leaving this little storyline, is that do they always have to carry cash so that way when they get into these like lunch meetings with people and people start yelling at each other and then they have to go, they can just drop money and go? Because it's kind of awkward if they have to wait there for the server for the bill and the whole thing. Like, the introvert in me is, like, really freaking out anytime they have these, like, lunch meetings. And they have to pay the bill.
Yeah, they definitely carry cash just in case they need to storm out dramatically.
Do you think so?
No.
But seriously, though, I
don't actually think so. I would be interested to know how much of this really happens over meals because I think they're probably more professional than that. I don't think there's much storming out mid-meal.
I don't mean storming out, but even like, you know what it's like when you're at a restaurant and you have to wait for the server to get there, then they got to go run the thing, then they got to bring it back. Like, it's going to be a couple minutes. So even if they aren't yelling at each other, even if it's just like really heated or just it went very sour or very toxic, like, I wouldn't want to sit there, like, and they are busy. They got places to go. I'm going to ask our new White House correspondent. I'm going to ask him.
Okay.
Because I want to know what it's really like. The other thing that Toby said, the last thing, He said, the president is not a member of your party. He's the leader of your party. And if you think demonizing people who are trying to govern responsibly is the way to protect our liberal base, then speaking as a liberal, go to bed, would you please? And I just thought that was kind of the best, comeback I've ever heard. Go to bed. I thought he was so defiant about it. I was like, did he actually just say go to bed?
It's pretty strange.
So I'm going to try that.
I think it's kind of a strange line, but hey, go ahead, Toby.
Okay.
Was there anything else in that storyline worth mentioning for you?
No.
Okay,
none.
Great. Cool. Done. So let's talk about the First Lady.
Yes.
Shall we?
Yes.
So she was upset, and we talked about this a little last time about should she be upset? Whatever. We talked about that. So did you feel any differently in this episode?
Did I feel any differently in this episode? You know what I did feel? I felt her whole "we had a deal" thing is now becoming like Michael from Lost in his "I want my son," or like Angelina Jolie in Changeling. Oh, you don't watch Lost?
No, I haven't seen Lost or Changeling.
Okay, people who watch Lost, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I thought that the fact that President Bartlett came back to the residence, it's a tough situation because he wanted to have the conversation so that way he could be clear-minded throughout the rest of the day and not have it hanging over him, which is what I would do if I were him. Mm-hmm. And then she basically says they can't have the argument because they don't have enough time. And it's like the whole role of a first lady. I can't imagine being a wife in that position. I really can't imagine it because she is basically saying no, you don't have time for this. And we have to wait till later. And it's this weird situation. He even says it what are you, my Zen master? He can't even be in control of his own mind. So,
I think it's also just, this whole storyline was interesting to me because it was interesting to watch the two of them sort of figure this out. And there was a lot of there's one part where she's I love you, I'm your wife, whatever. And it's just this reminder, I don't know, that okay, this is a bad argument. This is going to be a bad argument for our marriage, but neither of us are getting out. So that part was interesting to me. And just the relationship dynamics of it was interesting to me because I think even more so than thinking First Lady to the President, people just argue differently and people process differently. Mm-hmm. So thinking that Dr. Butler was trying to say I'm okay, I'm mad and we're going to talk about this, but I'm not to the point that this should be on your mind and should be distracting you. And it was interesting because they function differently as people. Because Bartlett's thought, and this is how I am too, is that if something's bothering me, it's bothering me, and I'm not going to be able to not talk about it. But I have dated people who feel the opposite way, and who are who either A, don't want to talk while they're upset, want to cool off, want to wait and have a more calm and civilized whatever, or B, who they're upset, but it doesn't bother them on the level that it bothers other people. They're good at compartmentalizing.
Yes.
Or just being able to keep moving.
Yeah,
so
I don't
I
have
sort
that.
of liked the depth of this storyline because of what it tells us about them as characters. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was interesting.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a great point.
Thanks.
Yeah, I was more thinking about it from an acting standpoint, personally. I was like, man, that's a really long monologue. That would be great for a film audition for somebody. And then I was thinking,
wait, which part? Which monologue?
It's she just has one basically in the residence, an extended thing, an extended address to Jed. And I kind of wanted to look it up on YouTube to see if anybody's done it. So I'll let you know in the next episode if I find a good one.
I really loved a lot of the dialogue they said in general. I love when she says something about, you don't have 2 things to do, you have 92 things to do. And that is interesting to me, thinking about, like you were saying, being the first lady and being a wife, that, it shows the difference in them as people, because it's still, I'm not going to say the fight is as important to him as the hostages in Colombia, but it's still his wife and it's still his relationship, and this is not, it's not like a, back of his mind, back burner. It's a big deal to him still. Mm-hmm. And that's interesting because it would just be so interesting to balance that relationship with being in those roles.
Yeah, I mean, because when is there going to be I suppose there might be less crazy days, but generally it's like,
yeah,
there's got to be always something. So at what point do they decide to like reconcile their emotional, relational accounts? We really need to get Michelle Obama on here because I want to know. Yeah, I want to know, girl.
I'll call her up.
How do you do it? Or really any first lady, not necessarily.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'd probably have a better chance with the not the current first lady. Laura, excuse me, Michelle. I know you're busy, but
Mrs. Bush, please come on our podcast. What's a podcast? Don't worry, we'll tell you all about it. What else?
That whole thing was interesting. I think that's all from that. Well, I'm sure. I mean, I could do a whole episode just about that one, about that storyline. So it's cute that Charlie, it's not cute, it's sweet and endearing that Charlie, I like when Charlie and Miss Landingham have scenes together because they're just two of my favorites.
Yes.
And then B, it's very sweet that Charlie wants to take the cash to Jane Robinson in the shelter.
Yeah, he's going to walk it over there. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, Charlie.
I know, we love him.
So that was worth noting. And now I guess we'll get into the big story.
The sadness.
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically...
You
go ahead. Nope.
No, you go ahead. Nope.
No, you. No, you hang up first. I'm just kidding.
Oh, God.
Yeah. We're just getting really funny today. Yeah, so basically it was a setup, right? They have this rescue mission to go in and get the agents, and it was a trap. They were lured there, and then there were 9... military fatalities. And then they have to figure out what to do with the captives, with the agents who are held hostage. And I didn't totally understand, I apologize, I didn't totally understand the whole Juan Aguilar thing. I guess they've got a big, like, drug cartel in custody, and they're going to release him in exchange, or release him to the United States?
No, they're going to release him. The Colombian people took the DEA agents as hostage, and the ransom is that they have to release their big drug cartel leader from prison.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, hey, we've got these people, and we will let them go if you release this guy.
Great, okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. But this was just an intense, obviously it was intense. This is some high-quality commentary here for me to tell you that this storyline was intense. But Bartlett handling it, especially to me, was so emotional because, like, I feel like he's just so frustrated because he has to trust other people in this. He's not in his element, and so when we're in military situations, he really just has to listen to what they think he should do. I mean, he's obviously the one making the calls, but it's on their guidance. Mm-hmm. And so he's so frustrated because he's like, I made this call because you guys told me to.
And we had bad intelligence.
Right, yeah. Oh my gosh, when Leo says, first of all, Leo keeping his cool throughout all of this, well, I have mixed feelings on it because Leo really pushed for the military action in the first place. And then he's sort of like, we lost. Like, this is one of the ones where we lost. And it was like, well, if you had not pushed so hard, and if you had listened to this other dude, I feel like there's a lot of dynamics to dissect there, but I couldn't really figure it out. Like,
I don't think there was room. I don't think there was room for Leo to have a reaction larger than he had because Bartlett was so in the stratosphere that Leo had to be the kind of grounded one.
That's true. And I wish in the episode we had time to sort of explore what that does to Leo, because I think that's such an interesting storyline. He immediately flips the switch. He doesn't have time to be like, I don't know, to feel like he messed it up or whatever. He just has to be calm and keep the president moving forward and, this and this and this and this. And he did a really great job of it. But that scene where he says it was bad intelligence and Bartlett yells, You think?
They lured us there.
He said something like, is that how I just lost 9 guys to a street gang with a ham rig? I mean, he's just, Bartlett's and Martin Sheen's delivery of that is
so good,
fantastic.
He's an MVP for that scene alone. That's exactly what I put.
Let alone any of the other ones. I thought he had a great episode, which we'll get there eventually. But these episodes where he is dealing with this, and then the closing scene where he is watching the caskets and getting teary-eyed, it's so moving, and it's compounded to me by the fact that he doesn't know much about military, like I said. So that he feels sort of, again, what we said earlier, like, I'm the leader of the free world, or he has the line that's like, what good is being a superpower?
Yeah.
And I think that adds a great level to this storyline for me.
Yeah. But what else could he do? It doesn't matter even if he was a good, like, had more military experience. Like, I guess he could have asked more questions about the intel. Hindsight
I don't think it practically would have made a difference. I think it's interesting what it does to him emotionally. I think that it makes him feel more helpless, even though really he still has to go with their intelligence, if that makes sense. I think it's just more of a mental thing.
But it's funny because I feel like you often keep that in mind, whereas I don't really ever think about it. Like, I think you always remember that he, like, is more of an economist than he is, like, a military. Like, I just assume he's just the president. So, like, it's, I don't know.
I think I probably cling to it because of, like I've said before that I don't get frustrated, but, like, when they all have such ridiculous amounts of knowledge that it feels almost unrealistic to me. So I sort of cling to the fact that, okay, like, military operations is his weak spot, because I think it's good for him to have one area that he doesn't feel great about. And so it's just always in my head.
Gotcha. Yeah, I just wondered why. Okay.
And why did they debate this at one point with Toby and Sam? They're in a room, and Toby and Sam are in the middle of the conference table, and Josh is, like, standing by the door. And I'm just like, why are we... I mean, I get that we want to know how we're going to spin it, but they were debating whether or not to do it.
Oh, over the breakfast, right?
No, a little bit later in the episode, they are debating in the Roosevelt room, I think, and Toby and Sam are arguing about whether or not to do it, because Sam says to do it. So he's like, like, screw principles, whatever. And Toby says, no, like, you have to have principles. The breakfast thing is interesting because, for two reasons. One, do we ever see that set again?
I don't think so. And Bartlett didn't eat. I could not run a country if I did not have breakfast. I can't even run my car if I don't have breakfast.
No. I gotta have breakfast. I'm definitely a breakfast person.
I gotta have my
The other interesting thing to me was that one of the statistics, he's, like, spouting off statistics about drug war and prison and all that kind of stuff. And he says somewhere between 50 to 80% of prisoners are, like, have, like, alcohol dependency or drug dependency. That's a pretty big gap in statistics.
Yeah, that's a pretty huge
50 to 85. Maybe we don't use that statistic. Maybe we're not so sure. Like, that just doesn't seem like one to drive home a point to me.
79% of statistics are made up on the spot.
Yeah. I like that statistic.
Oh, man.
So,
one thing I liked in this episode, which we've mentioned before, just the way that the West Wing puts a human story, face, and name to opposing arguments. It's just a very short scene with Josh and Donna, where Donna is asking, like, why don't they just let this, like, drug cartel go? And Josh is like, well, then we're talking about negotiating with terrorists or, things like that. So they had that little moment. And these are two very passionately held positions in America. Like, the way that people view dealing with terrorists or not, or, and the way that they put it within the context of Josh and Donna, where they could actually have a conversation openly and calmly and really listen to the other person's perspective. I mean, you just don't have that kind of discourse in America and in real life. So it was nice that they had this on the show. Idealized politics.
I agree. There's still, now that I'm like rereading through my notes, and there's so many more things to mention. This episode's a lot heavier than I thought. Did we even talk about Ainsley yet?
No.
Okay, so real fast about Ainsley. I thought this was cute. It was fun to meet her again, but I loved the first meeting story. I really was kind of indifferent about this. It's funny. It was funny, but there was plenty going on in the episode. I don't know.
I Well, let's play, I guess because it was kind of a heavy episode, should we go ahead and play our notable quotables? Huh?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah? Okay, enjoy a little supercut of the little frothy, fun little quips that we found.
Which is why it's curious that Donna would do nothing to discourage and, in fact, do everything to encourage a date with Joey Lucas, who, quite frankly, is a very attractive woman.
Josh?
Yeah.
You know, your voice just got really high at the end of that.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm not the one who got you jumping around like Joey Helton.
You have to do something for me.
Arrange another introduction.
You have to arrange another introduction.
Last night you were scared to meet him.
And I'm still scared to meet him, but I'll overcome that in order to erase the humiliation that I've brought upon myself and my father.
You were just in your own little Euripides play over there, aren't you?
I'm on hold. I'm on hold. I'm in some hellish hold world of holding.
Josh,
I'm on hold.
so call us and tell us when the power's back on.
They did call us.
What happened?
I'm on hold.
How you doing, Ainsley? My mouth is dry, my hands are moist, and I have to pee.
Okay.
How you doing, Angela?
I'm concerned about peeing on your carpet.
Okay. Well, now I am too.
Tell her it's gonna be fine.
Your skirt's on backwards.
May I use the bathroom?
Yes?
Thank you.
Ainsley.
Hey. Good evening, Mr. President.
Is she here?
Ainsley Hayes?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Where is she?
Well, she's in the closet, Mr. President. She thought it was a bathroom.
Why is she still in there?
That's kind of hard to say, sir.
Why don't we get her out here?
Yeah. Ainsley?
Yes?
Ainsley, why don't you come on out of there? How you doing? We met last night. You were singing and dancing in a bathrobe.
Yes, sir.
Why were you in the closet?
I had to pee.
They won't let me smoke inside, but you can pee in Leo's closet.
Oh, that was so fun. That was delightful.
So before that, you were going to say you loved one part.
Well, I love the whole, like, her going into Leo's closet thing. Which, also, this is a good time to mention that I was on YouTube the other night, as I'm prone to do, and I was watching a set tour of The West Wing, which is perhaps the most nerdy thing that I've done, but I don't know, because I've done a lot of nerdy things.
And
it was
have
interesting.
A West Wing podcast.
I know. I mean, it's pretty cool. Anyway, you guys can look it up. I'll post a link to it on Twitter or our Facebook page. But they talked about that room and the scene where Ainsley goes in there, and that room was supposed to be, it was modeled after that actual room I think in the Clinton, I don't remember which administration, but it was so the chief of staff could have a secure line to call the president if there was someone else in the room. That's what that room was supposed to be used for, and then they never ended up using it throughout the whole series. This is the only time that room is used.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's got like golf clubs in it right now.
Yeah, it did have golf clubs in it, yes. I guess it sounded like I was hating on it. I thought it was cute. I especially liked Sam's reaction to Ainsley. I liked Ainsley asking to meet him again. And Sam says something like, you're just in your own little play over here, aren't you? And yeah, Euripides play. And that was funny, because she is. That's a great way to describe Ainsley, even outside of meeting the president situation. She just is in general. So that was cute and fun. What?
There's a trivia I found. I mean, I guess it's not really that exciting, but it's something. At the beginning of the episode, President Bartlett says to Leo what he says is a George Bernard Shaw quote, "You don't live longer, it just seems longer," when they're talking about smoking. It's actually not by George Bernard Shaw. So if you're looking for it to use it in your real life, wingers, it's actually by Sir Clement Raphael Freud. And the quote is, "If you resolve to give up smoking, drinking, and loving, you don't actually live longer. It just seems longer." So there you go. The little letter to the editor for you.
Thanks. I saw that too. But I would never remember that name to quote it in real life. I like the quote though. Maybe I wasn't paying attention, which is totally possible because sometimes I get distracted when I'm taking notes, which is ironic. But did we see the police officer go on the news show, or did we find out what happened, if it went well?
We don't, actually. I don't think.
That's kind of a bummer. I would have liked a mention.
No, because CJ, set him up at the beginning of the episode. I mean, it's like, I was thinking about the actor. I'm like, oh, he had this great scene in the episode before, and he had to come back and work on this one, but his part was like so short.
It was, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if I can't remember.
I would have just liked even just like a throwaway line, like Toby saying, "Hey, how'd it go?" and she's saying, "It went well. It's done. Now it's whatever." Because he, like, when she first tells him, he says, she's like, "We need you to go on the news in the morning." And he says, "I think I'd really rather just go home."
Yeah,
like, poor man.
He's still so sad, like just all over his face.
Very sad. So that was just a little mention. Also, when Sam makes Toby this meeting with the congressman, it's at 7:30 in the morning.
Right?
I'm not okay with that.
No.
What kind of meetings? This is reason number 672 why Sally cannot work at the White House. Meetings at 7:30.
Do you think that Sam... I mean, that's probably what time they do get started there. I don't actually know. Again, we'll ask our new White House correspondent. Which is so exciting to say.
Well, they make tons of references to, like, being there super early, and like one episode, CJ's late because she get there like 6:30 or 7. She's late, and they make a lot of references to that. On this episode, Donna, they all work until 2 a.m. and then Josh is like, "Come in early tomorrow." So like we know they work a lot, but come on. But that's why I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, we failed to mention that Josh asked Donna if she needed help getting home at 2 a.m. But yes, I think he was partially concerned, but also partially because he didn't know what to do with Joey Lucas yet and didn't want to be alone with her. That's how I took that statement. He was like, are you sure you don't need someone to help you? It was kind of like he was looking for an escape, I thought.
I could see that too.
And CJ gives good PR advice to that police officer. So just in case there are any of you who've got children who are thinking about pursuing a pop career and pop stardom, you know, just get the story out early, have it on your own terms. Just keep that in mind.
The only other thing I had worth mentioning was that, and we talked about the president and the first lady arguing about the re-election and stuff. We didn't actually talk about it. I think it's really interesting. I think it's bold of Sorkin to have introduced this MS storyline because, and we get it from Abby's, which is such an interesting storyline, an arc throughout the show, but we get from Abby's speech about, you know, like, this is what's going to happen, like, it might not happen for 2 more years, it's going to be this deterioration, like, all of these things. It's such a huge commitment of a story.
But it's brilliant.
Yeah, I think it's great. It was interesting to me because it's like, for somebody who, like, you know, long form is not your strong suit, like, I'm not planning anything, it's really interesting to me that this is the kind of thing he would have chosen to do. And that was the only note, just that it's interesting.
It's so great because then you always have this kind of looming cloud of unknowing of, like, when is it going to come back, you know, as opposed to... Yeah.
I think it's a bold choice. That's what I'm saying. Like, because it always has to be there. It's sort of like, I mean, anything like that. It's the same with like a shooting or anything major and traumatic happening is that you can't, it's so unrealistic when shows have huge things like that and then forget about them a season later. Mm-hmm. It's more interesting to watch things sort of fall apart and just ebb and flow because of what happened. And the MS storyline is a good example of how that happens throughout the series, really. Mm-hmm. So, anyway.
A great dramatic device. The irony. Thick with irony.
Yeah.
Whew. So. Man, there's so much more. I mean, we talk about the title, like the war at home, the fact that they realize, like, hey, we're a pretty major part of the problem. Right. And the conflict that Bartlett has with, should we, you know, should we actually do the negotiation quietly? To let this guy go, and there were 14 people in the room who heard this offer, you know, and he's like, do you think that they're going to keep that secret?
I did think it was interesting that he was concerned about that, because when Leo responds, they keep bigger secrets than this, I was like, yeah, of course. Like, you know, like, I don't know. I get his concern, like, they're going to know I did this, but I don't know.
I think it was a good run-up to episodes that are coming up. Like 17 people.
Okay.
That's what I thought of.
Yeah, there's still a lot to talk about. Martin Sheen also was in a movie called The War at Home, which Emilio Estevez directed.
Yes, Emilio!
So, I wish Emilio had a cameo.
Wouldn't that be great?
It would be. It would be amazing. I can't even talk about it because I would love it too much.
Maybe in the West Wing movie.
Yeah, maybe in season 8.
Season 8, for sure. Cool. So, all right. Is there anything else that we need to mention?
There's not. I mean, I could still. Maybe I liked this episode a lot more than I thought I did because we had a lot to talk about. It was very like thought provoking. I guess it was really good. So maybe it wasn't like so great to watch, but it did have a lot of good stuff in it.
There were a lot of feelings, just not all positive. But from like a structural standpoint and acting standpoint, all of that was good.
So MVP, mine is Bartlett.
Yes, absolutely. That's probably the quickest we've ever picked an MVP, except for maybe
I think so too.
Josh's whole episode. Also, the whole thing at the end with the coffins and the music and everything. Whew, it reminded me of season 1, that episode where Bartlett is talking to the ship captain who's going to die and they're on the phone. I think it might have even been the same music sample. But it might have been. Oh, so good.
Yep.
Speaking of music samples, somebody wrote in and they said that they liked that I put Drop It Like It's Hot under the drop-in. I'm just saying.
I was hoping you didn't see that.
No, I saw it. She didn't like everything else that I said, but she did like that. And the next episode is about marijuana. So I might have to do some more Snoop Dogg or Tom Petty. Things to look forward to, guys.
All right. Well, that's it for us.
That's it for us. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Wingin' It. You guys can always write in to us at TheWestWingPodcast@gmail.com. We are on Instagram.
You can tell Andrea that you don't like it when she puts Snoop Dogg in. Just kidding. I like the Snoop Dogg. I'm just kidding.
That's right. Don't be a hater on G-O-double-G, man. Email us, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. We're on all of them. We love getting your feedback. And we'll catch you next time for Ellie, which is the next episode. And I don't think it's my favorite, but I do know that every episode after that is. So I'm very excited.
Okay.
See ya.
Bye.